Space, the final frontier. Join us for a bold conversation. Our prime directive? To recap our favorite Star Trek shows, both new and old. To engage in debate about all things Trek. Prepare to energize with phasers set to stun.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Phasers Set to Stun, where we continue to show our love for everything Star Trek in this ongoing series from a Film by podcast, which focuses on every quadrant of the expanding universe of Trek by covering television, animation, movies, directors, and much more. Plotting the course, as always, is your core Trek crew. I'm David Burns.
And I'm Scott Hoffman.
And I'm Wayne Whited.
Red alert, this episode is going to be full of spoilers, so if you haven't seen this film, please go do so, and then come back to join us. We will be waiting. A generation's final journey begins. All right, gentlemen, and our listeners, we have officially reached the end of the motion pictures for our Next Generation crew. This film is kind of mixed among the fans, and I believe even us here at Phaser Set to Stun on our feelings about it, but we are going to get into that here shortly. This film was the first Star Trek not to name the cast in the opening credits, which should have been my first red alert. We have a bearded Riker again, another stunning score by Jerry Goldsmith, and my second red alert, outsider Stuart Baird directing. Those in charge wanted a film about Romulans, and thus Star Trek Nemesis was born. But before we deeply dive into this film, Wayne, tell us what it's about.
After attending the wedding ceremony of William Riker and Deanna Troi, the Enterprise's trip to Beta Z is delayed to investigate a mysterious energy reading on the planet Kalaris 3, where they find the remnants of an android named B4, possibly a prototype for their own Commander Data. Meanwhile, on the planet Romulus, the Romulan government is shaken when the leader of the slave race known as the Remans, a man called Shizon, takes control of the Romulan Senate and informs the Federation of his desire for peace. The Enterprise is ordered by Starfleet to open diplomatic talks with the new Praetor, and Picard is shocked to learn that Shizon is in fact a younger clone of himself, a product of a Romulan plan to spy on the Federation long since abandoned. Picard and the crew of the Enterprise are skeptical of Shizon's offer for peace, and discover that his true motives lead to an invasion of the Federation and the extermination of all life on the planet Earth.
Thanks, Wayne. All right, gentlemen, let's talk about this film.
As
I said before, there are mixed reviews about this film. You know, by no means do I absolutely hate it. There are some good stuff in here, which I know we're going to get into, but what do you guys think?
Oh, okay. I'll go first. I've got mixed feelings about this film. It's not a bad film. It's just not what we would have preferred to have been our last Voyage of the Enterprise. It's really dark, dark film, not just in story, but in look as well. Very green.
Yeah.
And in that fact, kind of depressing, but the cast are phenomenal in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautifully directed. I'm just not sure that the script is up to motion picture quality for it. I think there are quite a few flaws. I know I'm a little divided on this one, but I'm not sure about the whole idea of Picard's clone. I don't think that really works. And I don't think it would have worked. I just can't see any way of it actually working on this film. Not to say Tom Hardy didn't do a good job. I'm not convinced. I never was convinced that he was a younger Picard.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
So, Scott, what about
think
you?
with this one, I feel like my first experience is pretty consistent with every subsequent experience I have with this, which is excited about what I think I'm going to see, but then ultimately kind of disappointed with the result. Yeah. There are a lot of times it kind of feels like Phantom Menace. And Dayton, I'm not, digging into the bashing here, but I mean, I have that association with the idea that I remember it in a certain way, and then when I get into it, I can see very specific parts that I'd like to cut out.
Yeah.
Parts where I'd be curious to see what kind of a movie it could have been without some of those elements, some of those things that maybe they would have fixed. But in terms of continuity, I find myself coming back to it every so often. It's not a favorite like Undiscovered Country or First Contact by any stretch, but it does help to fill in some gaps. It does help to answer some questions that are ultimately addressed in the Picard series in a couple of different ways.
It does, yeah.
But then beyond that, it's just like, yeah, now I remember. It's got these big problems.
It's hard to hate this film because everyone in it, from the actors to the production, are doing their hardest to make this a great film. You can see it on screen, but the script just, in my opinion, just isn't up to it yet.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And this was not a box office success.
No.
As a matter of fact, it made the least amount of money of all the Star Trek films. You know, Star Trek V: The Final Frontier even made more, and that's a big ouch, in my opinion. Big ouch. Apparently, Patrick Stewart was not a fan of this film. A lot of them weren't. And sort of blamed the failure on franchise fatigue as the reason for the poor box office results.
That's possible. I mean, look at how much Star Trek we were getting at that time. Well, let's see. This would have come out a year after Voyager was out. We had Enterprise. I think we were all suffering from a little bit of Star Trek fatigue at the time. Yeah,
I think so. And you know, in Frakes, Sirtis, and Burton, they criticized Baird for his direction of this film. You know, apparently, you know, he hated the Star Trek universe and knew nothing about it.
Yeah.
And he even thought that apparently LeVar Burton was an alien with human cybernetic eyes.
Yeah.
Why would you get this guy? I mean, even Frakes
well,
said if they'd approached me, I would have directed this.
Well, he
I
often
understand
mispronounced his name as Laverne.
Oh, yeah.
For a while. And I'm just like, buddy, do a little bit of homework on this. And
Right.
you don't know LeVar Burton? Outside of Star Trek, I mean, even Star Trek notwithstanding, LeVar Burton is a big name.
Yeah.
So get it right maybe before you get on set.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Stuart Bard, I can understand why they wanted him and why they hired him. He's no stranger to films. I mean, he's been around for a while and has done a lot of stuff. You know, he directed Executive Decision and U.S. Marshals. The only reason I know those films is because Jerry Goldsmith scored them. But, you know, he was a long time film editor, especially for Richard Donner. So, you know, that's a big name. And I can see them saying, hey, you know, wouldn't it be great? This guy's a rather large name. You know, you look at all the stuff he's done. Wouldn't it be great for him to direct our next Star Trek film? But on the flip side, as you said, he knows nothing of Star Trek. And you know, time and time again, it's shown that when you stick someone that has no idea what's going on, it usually doesn't work out. It sounds like a great idea, but it never turns out right.
I'm looking at you, Ang Lee, and the Hawk. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Shudder. Yeah, I mean, it just seems like if this is supposed to be somewhat of their kind of swan song for Next Generation, and obviously for Brent Spiner's character, Data, apparently of his own design, which kind of surprised me. He felt that he was aging out of character, so he wanted to hang it up.
I understand that.
I mean, he was like 53, wasn't he, when they made this?
Yeah.
So I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
But by the same token, if this is going to be almost the finale for the franchise on the big screen, have somebody step in that knows and respects what this is going to be by at least knowing something about the universe.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. You know, and hear the fact that Jonathan Frakes said, I would have loved to have directed this if they had approached me. And apparently they didn't. I kind of get it. You know, you want to bring maybe some fresh blood into this, but at least bring somebody who's got some kind of knowledge, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Well, I think the reason why Paramount didn't approach him is because I think he was working on another film at the time when they first started production. Because this, out of all the Star Trek films, this of the Next Generation films, this is the one that had the longest gestation period, the longest time of pre-production. It was almost 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, the others barely got 6 months before they were done. So I think he was working on, I think it was Clock Stoppers, if I remember right, which I like that film. That's how I remember it. I like that film. I thought he did a fantastic job for it. But I think for a better film, we could have waited another 6 months.
Yeah. I do agree. We should have waited a little bit longer. But hey, you know. We have the original cast in their respective roles. All of them do an absolutely incredible job. Brent Spiner, once again, having two different roles in this film, and did a fantastic job with both of them, as he has done through the entire run of the Next Generation.
Oh, he's an expert at that.
Yeah, did a fantastic job in this. The guest stars, obviously, we know Tom Hardy, who plays Shinzon. Apparently, Patrick Stewart was not a fan of Tom Hardy. He basically says, I didn't have a single exciting scene to play, and the actor who portrayed the movie's villain, Shinzon, was an odd, solitary young man from London. His name was Tom Hardy. Tom wouldn't engage with any of us on a social level, never said good morning, never said good night, and spent the hours he wasn't needed on set in his trailer with his girlfriend. He was by no means hostile. It was just challenging to establish any rapport with him. On the evening Tom wrapped his role, he characteristically left without ceremony or niceties, simply walking out of the door. As it closed, I said quietly to Brent and Jonathan, and there goes someone I think we shall never hear of again. Well, he was wrong.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy has turned into a pretty good actor.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is one of his earliest roles.
It is.
The only thing I can think of that he did before this was Band of Brothers, and that was barely a part in the first place.
Yeah, this was he thought this was going to be his breakout role. Tom Hardy thought, and I thought he did okay. I really do. I mean, again, it's the script's fault. It's not Tom Hardy.
Right?
But
he got his name out for this. I mean, the film did succeed in the fact of getting his name out there, and
yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah, I know Hardy does admit. I think he was struggling with some drugs and stuff at this time too.
Okay.
So obviously that pulled him out of the performance that he probably could have given us. But you can only do so much when you have a script that's right in front of you, that's written the way it's written, Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And I don't think one of the problems that I have with the movie is related to Tom Hardy at all. I think the character is interesting. His portrayal of it, I think he does a great job. I think it's certainly a better choice than having Patrick Stewart play opposite himself as Shinzon. I heard there's one consideration of that, and I think that's dodging a bullet. That would have just been way too weird. But especially for, being pretty young in his career, and it had to be somewhat intimidating to be surrounded by this cast that's, become a family at this point.
Right.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest problems I have with it is it's got nothing to do with Tom Hardy. I like him. He's a great actor, done lots of great stuff. But what was the point of making him Picard's clone? I mean, it really has nothing to do with the actual storyline.
No.
It just seems like something that was thrown in just because they wanted to do it. And it, if they would have just made him like someone else, just a different character that had nothing to do with Picard being, his clone. Yeah. I think it would have probably worked out better for the character and for the actor. It just makes no sense. Why have that?
It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense at all. I know there's some dialogue later on the film where he's talking to Picard, and he's saying that like the Romulans were going to use him, I guess, to replace him in the Federation.
Yeah, but it was something that they had abandoned.
But it had nothing to do with the story. Yeah,
right. It doesn't. If he would have been just like, a person who they had like, let's say he was a Federation citizen that had been captured and was in slavery with the Remans and led their revolt up and been able to take over, and now he's in command of the Romulans. And that works. That would work, and it would not have changed the script one bit at all.
Right.
But it would have left out all that awkward whole stuff about being Picard's clone and him trying to look like Picard. I think they were trying to make some sort of connection between him and the character of Picard, but it doesn't come off very well. It doesn't come across like that very well.
And you could have him kept the disease he had, because that played into that. But he didn't have to be a clone of Picard at all. I agree with you completely on that, Wayne.
Well, and there was part of me in one viewing of this where I noticed that Picard's expression when he's getting that connection, like talking about the Shalof's syndrome, it almost looks like he's as surprised as if he was meeting his own son that he never knew he had.
Yeah.
And it seemed like maybe, could there have been another direction where, similar to Denise Crosby coming back as a descendant.
They had talked about her coming back. I kind of wish we would have saw that.
I do too.
Right. So if there could have been a similar angle with Picard, where it's kind of like, this is basically my son, created in ways that I didn't choose, but essentially having him have that same kind of conflict. I feel a
Mhm.
responsibility for this person as much as I see this person as an inherent threat. So I think that that dichotomy could have worked better in other ways.
Didn't they do that storyline in an episode, like one of the last episodes of the series?
It sounds
I
familiar.
think so. Yeah, yeah. One of the aspects of Shinzan's character that I don't like at all, and I think really doesn't service the plot at all, is his approach toward Troy. I'll say it that way first.
Well, yeah.
Now, I'm not talking about the obvious problem yet, but the fact that when he first sees Troy, he's so enamored with her and tries to touch her hair and is being super creepy with her. That entire, like, I've been on the dark side of Remus for so long, and I've never seen a human woman, so I'm enamored with this one. And maybe there is some kind of plot that he had to mess with the crew on that level, but I feel like his approach to Troy and absolutely the telepathic rape, I hate to say it,
That's what it was.
seems completely unnecessary. And
that in terms of his character is the part that I thought worked. Only because it not only did give a Troy more to do, but actually allowed them to attack back and bring her character more into the storyline to become essential to the defeat of him. I actually liked that part of the story. I mean, it is awkward to talk about, but it's still, I thought it worked.
so I think it's fair to say that having some kind of telepathic attack could have been valid, right?
Yeah.
To give her that opportunity to use that against them. I don't think the sexual aspect of it is necessary.
Oh yeah, there's definitely, I agree with you that part. Yeah.
But one thing we can all agree on is Ron Perlman as the Viceroy was amazing, because Ron Perlman's amazing in everything that he does.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
And then we got to meet him, and dude was awesome. So, respect out there for Mr. Perlman. I would love to have seen him some more in Star Trek, but didn't happen.
I was happy to see his name attached to Star Trek. I've loved him ever since the 80s. And, and it was when I heard he was going to be involved in this film, I was like, oh yeah, finally, that's great.
Yep, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And Wayne, you should have been happy. We had a nice Voyager surprise with Kate Mulgrew as Admiral Janeway in this.
Yes, and I wish we had gotten more like they had originally planned, but it was nice to see her and see that she was safe and okay after their return.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk more about this film, guys. Some things that do work, some things that don't work. I know we kind of mentioned this before, but the problem we have, why is Wesley Crusher at the wedding?
See,
That is a good question.
Well, in what sense?
Yeah.
Well, he left to fly off with the Traveler and be some special god being thingy, and then now he is setting in. I think what the problem is he's in a Starfleet uniform.
Yes.
He
Why?
quit Starfleet. He gave it all up, and now there he is. We're missing something of the story.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, to that end, yes, Wesley absolutely should be there at the Riker Troy wedding. But it's also confusing to your point that he's back in a Starfleet uniform. Like, could he not have been in a tux?
Well, now I know they did fix this at a later time. There was a book where he appears at the wedding naked, and Picard because they thought that being a Beta Z wedding, that's what he needed to be.
Oh yeah. Good idea.
Weddings.
Okay, I get it.
And Picard's like, no, we're not to that part yet. Here, put this uniform on real quick, and that's why he's wearing the uniform.
Well, that makes sense, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, we got to see Guinan again. She came back for just a tiny little role right there.
Yeah.
I do love the continued joke though about the naked wedding, especially with Worf. He's going to have to do it no matter what.
And then Picard says, "I'll be in the gym."
Right.
Yeah.
I was very glad to see them finally married, and it seems like a great idea to have that at the same time that they're kind of passing the baton for him to move to the Titan.
Exactly.
I think the wedding plays really well, and especially the Irving Berlin joke.
Oh yeah.
I think Brent Spiner does a great job with Blue Skies, and that obviously hits so much differently at the end of Picard season 1. I won't spoil that for Jeff, but damn, did that hit hard.
Yeah. I will say one of the things I really loved. There was some comedy in here, but not as much as I'm used to with these films. If you guys notice that, a lot of comedy was missing.
Mostly at the beginning of the film, yeah.
Yes, but the one line that I just bust out laughing every time is when Picard's leaving. He goes, "You have the bridge, Mr. Troy."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Loved it. So, all right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's take a little break. We'll come back. We will continue to talk about this film. All right, everybody. Welcome back, where Wayne, Scott, and I continue to talk about Star Trek Nemesis. Let's break this down a little bit further, guys. Introduction of B4. One of the things that I felt was really odd, it just felt out of place, was that, I don't know what you would call that, an SUV, whatever they were driving.
Yeah.
That whole sequence just felt weird to me. Am I wrong?
No.
Yeah, the dune buggy, the Argo, or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
That seemed to be like, once I found out about Stuart Baird not having a core understanding of Star Trek, it was like, oh, maybe that's why they had a dune buggy scene, just to have a dune buggy scene, right? There was nothing that seemed to be prohibiting the shuttle from going to the different spots.
Yeah. I mean, why would they have a dune buggy? Why would they have something on wheels? I mean, we never seen anything like that before. Everything flies around. They have transporters. What would be the use of having a dune buggy like that?
Yeah,
I don't know. That's why that whole sequence felt out of place for this movie.
It felt like it should have been in a different film, something else, not Star Trek.
Yeah, I agree.
It also felt like B4's story arc is oddly out of character for the crew. So they pick up this signal from a distant planet, and I'm not sure why there's a positronic signal coming from a severed arm. I would expect it to all be coming from the head, but okay.
Yeah.
So they find these parts that are spread out. They didn't even know that this existed. Like, Dr. Soong didn't even mention that B4 was even a thing. And all of a sudden it seems like it's a trap, because everybody starts shooting in their own dune buggies because they all apparently missed shuttle day. But as soon as they get him, they assemble him completely, and very soon after download all of Data's memories into B4. Now, aside from the fact that the last time they found an abandoned android brother, he turned out to be, a bloodthirsty maniac.
Yep.
Wouldn't it kind of seem like, this is weird. We didn't know this android existed, yet this group laid this trap for us. Maybe we should give it some time before we plug him in and give him all the keys.
Agreed.
That would make sense.
That leads me to two of my problems with this film. And obviously we've got more that we've already discussed. But one problem, oh my God, how many times has Data caused problems with this in the crew?
How many times have you said that?
Yes, and how many times have I said that? And here we go again. Stop it, okay? Stop it. You understand turning this droid on is not going to cause any issues? Oh, okay, let's just do this. No. The second problem I have, I feel like it's a cop-out of killing Data, because he downloaded everything to B4. So
it is.
Right then when that happened, you knew what was coming.
Right.
And when he dies, it kind of takes away from his death. I mean, I still felt sad. I was still with the crew, when they were feeling those emotions. But in the back of my head, I'm like, well, who cares? Because B4 is now Data.
Right.
Here, maybe you guys clear this up with me. What was the point of the B4 storyline other than that? I mean, who put B4 on that planet? Was that part of Shinzon's plan?
I believe
was
so,
he involved in that? Well, why? What does that have to do with his plan? I don't understand how that connects.
I think it was to get some of the ship's like shields and all that kind of information downloaded so he could give it to them. To give it to Shinzon.
Seems like there'd be an easier way to do that.
I would agree.
It just seems so convoluted.
It does, yeah.
And the entire sequence where B4, his sleeper cell mode kind of activates and he starts getting onto the computer. We've seen a lot of treatments of Data scanning through things very quickly, I think to great effect on the TV series.
Yep.
I'm not sure why they went with the UPN discount bin discount matrix effects that they had on the computer screen, where it has all these like falling numbers in 3D. Like it was such a weird sequence to use.
Yeah.
And as soon as they were saying like, that's odd, somebody is accessing things and they're not supposed to, your first guess should be B4. We've been here with lore. Like it's the only person on. Take a guess. It was Colonel Mustard in the living room with the pipe. He's the only one here.
Right. It just blows my mind. It's like, come on, guys. You're smarter than this. Come on. But it still happens. You know, one of the things I feel this film could have done so much better, this was written by John Logan, who obviously had a hand in with Gladiator and had a lot of political background with writing scripts for political stuff. They could have really dived more into the Romulan stuff politically than they did. I know they kind of touched on it a little bit, but I feel like if we had gotten more of that, kind of like we got with Undiscovered Country, you know, I think we would have had a better film. But again, this goes back to what you're talking about, Wayne. It was not written really well.
No, and you're right. I mean, finally we get the Romulans, and everybody's been wanting the Romulans. They wanted the Romulans, and really, do we really get much of the Romulans? We get a lot of the Remans, but and a lot of Shizon. But you know, the Senate is wiped out right at the beginning before they even open credits, and it's really not a Romulan film, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. At all. It's not. And another problem.
There's a line in there where they talk about the fact that everybody thinks that a coup d'état is a big thing here on Romulus. We call it Wednesday, right? If it happens that often, it seems like wouldn't it make sense there would be some redundancies in place if somebody did crispy the whole Senate? That it's not. Well, what do we do with the planet now? Right. It seems like there could have been some other elements where they had the Remans maybe occupying the planet a little bit more, or somehow, orchestrating a lot of things.
Well, that would make more sense.
Right. Yes, it would.
It also seemed a little odd that in the escape from the shuttle bay, with Picard and Data stealing the shuttle and flying through the hallway, a cool idea. Seemed a bit implausible, but a cool idea. But before they fly out, I see like a whole fleet of those, whatever they call them, attack shuttles. Scorpions. Thank you. They didn't use those once in the entire battle sequence. It seems like if you have this much of an army, send out your TIE fighters to at least shake things up a little bit. I don't know.
Budget, Scott.
Budget, I guess. Yeah.
But then don't tease us with things like that. Don't show us that if you're not going to actually use them.
Right.
Exactly.
So, okay, now we have this great crew on the Enterprise. They have done such wonderful things over the years. So not only do you have the problem of let's turn on this robot that we have no idea about, this android, who's probably going to cause us problems, but are we just throwing Starfleet procedure out the window? So when they go to Shinzon's ship, Riker and Picard go, and Data? Okay, never mind. Let's just throw everything out the window.
Right.
What the hell?
They will never learn.
Dr. Crusher, you've got this.
Yeah. I mean, really? That happened? And it did. But okay, whatever.
Yeah, it did seem like there were a few aspects where they were not quite prepared for what they were supposed to do. So, going way back to Janeway talking through, what they're going to do, and obviously they've been requested specifically, but they don't see it as suspicious enough to have the fleet be a little bit closer to them, or
well, that's in a deleted scene. It's not a deleted scene. It was a scene that they cut from the film and never shot. That there was talk about that. But because of the fact that the Federation Council was the Romulans were saying peace, 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 that they were kind of all they were thinking of was peace and letting common sense fly out the window.
Okay.
A lot of that in this movie, apparently.
Yeah.
That seems to be a theme.
Yeah.
There's a few scenes in that I absolutely love. So there's the same scene similar to what we got in First Contact, where like they're getting ready to go to war, and they're handing out all the rifles. I love that shot. I do. It was very similar to the First Contact, but right there, incredible piece from Jerry Goldsmith. Right there, that kicked in and just went over that kind of montage of getting ready for war. I love that piece. There's two pieces in this film. The whole score was fantastic.
It is.
And I know we're going to get to the score here in a little bit, but that was one of them. The other one we'll get to, and that I'll mention, we'll get to when we talk about the score. But let's talk about this big, huge battle that we get. I thought the battle was pretty neat. I really did. I mean, it could have been more.
I did too.
As you mentioned, the Scorpions, we could have probably have seen those with everything that was going on. It was kind of neat to see the Romulans show up to help out the Enterprise. I thought that was some really cool scenes. One of the scenes that I thought was amazing was when the Enterprise rams Shinzon's ship, and then they get stuck, and then Shinzon starts backing away and just rips them apart. Man, that whole sequence I thought was phenomenally well done.
That is. It's one of the best parts. Yeah.
Yeah. There was part of me that kind of wondered, could they have used the separatable saucer section, if that's still a thing with this Enterprise?
Not sure if it is or not. I always assumed it was, but I don't know.
But after ramming into it, it seems like you could have a tactical advantage behind, all right, we're going to park the saucer section in your nose and then take the rest of it around to the back and finish it off. But
Right. So, let me get this straight. How many times in a movie do we have to see Picard has to shut down a massive weapon at the end?
yeah, it's
Why
the
does
space
this keep
laser of
happening?
Star Trek.
Why does this keep happening?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, you hit another thing that bothers me about this film is its similarity to the end of Insurrection.
Yeah.
The whole tone of the film, the fights, and then the whole massive weapon. I thought the same thing. It's too close to Insurrection. We need something different.
It is, and it's just like, come on with some original, please. I mean, they kind of did that in Generations too, the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, come on. But I digress.
I do kind of wish that the Geordi had made 2 prototype emergency transports, because clearly they work. So maybe give him a spare. I don't know.
Why does he have one? Why does he have one?
Right. And the way that they kind of present that too, it's kind of like, okay, we're talking about all these things. Oh, by the way, I've got this thing in case we need to get out. Looks at the camera. So, if that comes up, and then puts it back in his arm.
Yeah, I did like the sequence of Data getting onto Shinzon's ship, though. I thought that was cool.
Yes.
Oh, where he jumps?
Cool.
Yes.
Runs down the hallway and then leaps. Oh, I thought that was cool. Great effect.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And of course, again, you get the cop out with them killing Data, which again, I feel for the emotions of the crew. I thought when it blew up, and then Troy and Riker were looking at the screen. Well, there's no screen there anymore, but they're looking out, which that was pretty cool too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't realize Picard was standing behind them. So, when they turn and look, I thought that the sequence was really good, and I felt for them that Data had killed himself and sacrificed himself. Yeah. But still, we have before. We're fine. Everybody, we're cool. We're cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought I feel like they were intentionally trying to kind of play with our emotions with it seemed like when the movie was being set up, it was set up as the last voyage for the Next Generation crew.
Yeah.
So then it seems like, all right, I'm expecting that somebody's going to die. Mm-hmm. And when Riker was fighting Viceroy, in the fight sequence that was way overusing slow motion.
Yes.
90s slow motion. That they were kind of set up that Riker was going to be the one that dies. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that's not the way that they went.
Oh,
it would be a horrible thing to set up this, everything's fantastic, blue skies, and then he dies. I'm glad they didn't put them through that.
Yeah. This is probably finally my biggest problem with this film, and why even 20 some years later I still don't like this film as much as I should, is that it is the last Next Generation film that we got, and it's just depressing.
It is.
But you want these characters. We follow these characters for so long. We love these characters, and we want them to have a great ending. And this was not it. This wasn't it. We were left with a really bad taste in our mouth at the end of this film. With even Data's death. I mean, it sounds like a great idea, but it's not where we want to leave the saga.
Right.
At. And I'm glad that we didn't have to. Finally, I'm glad that the characters did finally get their happily ever after, because that's what we wanted. But this wasn't a good ending to what we have followed for, what was at this point, it had been 15 years, but invested so much of our time and love and following, and then this is it, and it's just no. That's all I can say, really.
I agree. I think that's why we kind of got our vindication when we got season 3 of Picard.
I mean, that's the 5th film.
That is.
That's the film that we wanted and got this instead.
Yes. So at least we got that out of it. But you're right. I mean, as many years we had to wait for that was ridiculous.
I feel great now. Yeah. After seeing that, I feel great. I feel satisfied, and that's the problem. I did not feel satisfied after Nemesis. I'm like, we got to have more. You can't just leave it like this.
Right.
I'm satisfied. If we never see these characters again, I'm happy because they got the ending that they deserved.
Well, and I think we got kind of double duty too with Picard season 1 and Picard season 3, helping to round that out. Yeah,
I agree. Absolutely.
And we are talking a lot about Picard too, so I guess that makes really, that's a great series. Everybody should watch it. But you really to understand a lot, and you really do need to watch Nemesis. We're not trashing the film, but we're saying it's not the greatest film, but you really do need to watch it. It is an important part to understand anything about that series.
It is. It's part of the story. I mean, just like in the TV series, there's episodes we don't like. But we know they're there, and you should watch them because they're part of the series. So I get it. You're absolutely right, Wayne. Yeah.
And this film, there are parts of this film that are great. The cast, the main characters are all fantastic. I mean, we love watching them, and they're great in this. The visual effects are outstanding. I think it was wonderfully directed. It's beautifully designed. So there are a lot of good points to look at. And the score. Oh, gosh, the score,
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. All right, gentlemen, let's talk a little bit about behind the scenes. One of the things I found fascinating was apparently the farewell scene in Picard's ready room near the end had to be reshot because apparently Patrick Stewart unintentionally started crying.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because, I mean, they pretty much knew this was probably going to be it for them, too. No more. I mean, they didn't know if this was going to be a success or not by the time when they were filming it, but I think sure that was on the set, that vibe.
Yeah, I think it was, but I also think that if this was a success, they were expecting a last, final 5th film too.
Yeah. Anything from you guys? Anything behind the scenes?
Yeah, well, I got. They did ask Jerry Ryan to appear in the film. Ooh. She was going to appear at Riker's and Troy's wedding, and I remember. One thing I got to mention, because everybody hears me talk about deleted scenes and early things. About 6 months before this film was released, the script was leaked on the internet, and that's when I read it. I mean, who could resist? And it wasn't the final shooting script; it was like 2 drafts back. So there were a lot of stuff in there that they had cut and changed. And I remember reading the scenes with Jerry Ryan. And she was only appearing in the wedding scenes, and I have to agree for her reasons for refusing to take it. She just didn't feel that she didn't understand why 7 and 9 would be at the wedding.
She wouldn't.
I mean, she wouldn't. I mean, she never met these characters at that point. She had never met any of these characters, so why would she appear? And that's one of her main reasons why she didn't appear, and I agree with that. I thought it was rather odd, too.
Wasn't there even talk that Marina Sirtis wasn't going to sign on for this movie?
Yeah.
Going to replace her with Jerry Ryan?
I think there was brief talk right at the beginning when they were writing this. They weren't sure if everybody was coming back.
Yeah, and thankfully, I think Jerry Ryan was busy with Boston Public at this time.
Yeah, that's
right.
So
thankfully, that got in the way, and it didn't work out. I don't think she would have done it anyway because of those very reasons.
It would have been nice to see her, but it wouldn't have made any sense, like a lot of things in this film. But there was no reason to have her character in there. Now, Kate Mulgrews' appearance we really liked.
Oh, absolutely.
That was another thing that was in that script. She was originally to appear in 2 more scenes off the screen. There was a scene between her and the Federation Council where I mentioned a little bit about that. And then there was another scene after there where she's talking to Picard. This was about halfway through the film, right after Picard and Shazan met for the first time. She's discussing that, telling him the results and that needs to go ahead with the negotiations, but then she kind of puts it off onto what do they call that when nobody else can listen in. She goes, captain to captain, be careful. is
Yeah.
what she says. And I love that scene. It's a pity that they never filmed that.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
kidding.
that
What a
would have been
shame.
good. I think it's a good call that they didn't include 709 in here because, yeah, it would have felt wedged in. I think it's a shame that it sounds like one of the reasons that Marina might have not come back is because they were offering her such a low salary for it. They were not willing to pay her a lot for it. And
Which is
considering
ridiculous.
what her character has to go through,
Yeah.
Well, you know, it too.
despite the fact that she's a highly important
Oh, yeah.
character.
Absolutely
and
she is.
This would be a completely different movie if we didn't have the Riker Troy
Yep.
wedding. And she's a lot more than that as a character, as an actress. Like, respect that and make sure that she's in this, especially if it's going to be the swan song. You've got to have her there.
Right.
You know, and she hardly had anything to do with Insurrection. I mean, it really didn't have much. So I could see her saying, you know, if you're not going to give me anything to do, why should I be there?
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's why she does have more to do in this film. Has some rather important scenes. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, but it could lead to that.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
I guess
know,
the only other behind the scenes thing I was going to mention is that I think it's appropriate that Brent Spiner was one of the writers on this, knowing that it's Data's last hurrah on the movie. It seems appropriate that he would have a hand in the feature. So I was glad to learn that.
So talking some about what ifs, I know we've kind of already mentioned some of these. Wayne, you've mentioned some of the deleted scenes and something like that. Apparently, there was supposed to be a follow-up film for this, which would involve Deep Space Nine and Star Trek Voyager crews, and Riker with his USS Titan. But apparently all those got scrapped because of this film did so bad at the box office. What a shame. I think that would be really neat to see that.
Yeah, they were talking about that for a while, and this is one of the reasons why most of this cast felt that this was their last time. They didn't mean it was the last Star Trek film, but it could have been their last time altogether because Paramount and the producers were talking about doing films that combined all the other series and brought all the other characters, bits of them here and there, and so yeah.
I think that's why we got the Star Trek 2009 reboot, isn't it? They just
I think so.
basically like let's just reboot it all.
Well, between this film and Enterprise was just not doing very well.
Right.
Great series, but just wasn't doing anything. And I think a lot of it's got to do with that fatigue. It led to the end of the franchise, or this part of the franchise. I think the only logical thing they could have done was reboot it.
Yeah, I agree. Any other what ifs?
I just want to mention that the first cut of this film was really long. They cut nearly 50 minutes of footage out of this film.
Oh, wow.
To get it, to get it under 2 hours. And there are a ton of deleted scenes. I talked about the ones that they didn't shoot, but there are a ton of ones that they did shoot, and some of them are great stuff. Some of it I can understand they cut. If you want to watch any of them, they're all on the DVD and Blu-ray. I mean, you got Wesley. You got scenes with Wesley Crusher where he actually speaks lines, because he never did it in the actual film. There's some great scenes between Picard and Troy. More scenes with Worf, and then the extended final scenes with Riker leaving and Picard getting a new command chair installed on the Enterprise with seatbelts, by the way.
Nice.
Finally.
Yeah, finally. I know apparently in an early draft, Ashley Judd was supposed to come back. But apparently they decided not to do that. That would have been kind of neat, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it would have been neat. I would like to have seen some of the other characters. We got such a great secondary cast to The Next Generation. We always wonder whatever happened to them.
Yep. Do you know Bryan Singer's got a guest appearance in this film?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. He's one of the crew members that takes Worf's place at the tactical console. I think
that's right. Yeah. I couldn't remember who he was.
Him and Patrick Stewart, obviously, with X-Men and stuff like that. So I guess that's why he got that. So cool. Yeah. All right. Well, let's take another break. When we come back, we're going to do Wayne's favorite part. Talk about the score. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Where we continue our discussion with Star Trek Nemesis with Wayne and Scott. Guys, we all know that we're big fans of movie scores, and Wayne, we all know that we love Jerry Goldsmith.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about the score of this film. What do you got, Wayne?
Well, this score, when I first heard it, which was about a week before the release, I believe it's around the time of the release of the film, I wasn't really too sure about it. I remember listening to it and thinking how different it was from his work on Insurrection. Very harsh, menacing, kind of depressing, just like the film in points. It's got a very, very short, very raw, pounding opening theme because there's no opening credits for him to write anything for. But then there was a lot of, it was just very different, and it didn't have all those nice, beautiful themes that he had written for the last two films. But then, I had first thought that maybe just like us, Goldsmith didn't think too much of the film and just wasn't very inspired. I mean, it's happened before on some of his other films, but then the score has grown on me. It really has, and after I started thinking about it, to really appreciate this score, you have to think about exactly where Jerry Goldsmith was at this time in his life. This was late 2002, and I think he composed it during the summer of 2002. He had been battling colon cancer for quite a few years at this point now. And it made him cancel a lot of his assignments. He was doing 5 to 6 films a year, dropped down to 1 or 2, starting with the year 2000. His cancer had went into remission, but at this point it was starting to return. And I really think, he was beginning to feel the effects of it. I've listened to the score many times over the last 20 years, and I've really got a new appreciation to the score, because there are some incredible pieces here. I mean, we talked about a few of them. There are some beautiful pieces, and I think the original release does not do this score justice. There's a couple cues that I absolutely love. The scene on Colaris 3 with the dune buggies. While I don't like the scene, I love the music. That's pure Jerry Goldsmith action music. Very full orchestra, and everything. And then there's the scene with between Picard and Chizon when they're talking about being clones and him being a clone and everything. Beautiful, sweet oboe playing underneath with a very sinister like tone. Just the whole score is just absolutely phenomenal. This ended up being the third to the last score that Jerry Goldsmith ever composed before his death in July 2004. He did the film called Timeline after this, which his music was never used. It ended up having to be dropped from the film. And then he did one more film, Joe Dante's Looney Tunes Back in Action. And, at that point, he wasn't even able to finish that score and had John Debney come in and conduct it and finish it for him. So, thinking of that and where he was, and this was a very dark time, he knew what was coming.
He did.
That I think he brought a lot of that emotion, that anger and that fear and into his score on this film. And it's just absolutely incredible.
It is. I mentioned one of the pieces that I loved. The other piece, it's very short, but man, I tell you, every time I hear it, I just get goosebumps. It's the small little piece as Picard is leaving B4 at the end. He does that look back when he walks out in the hallway. That piece right there, I tell you, man, it gets me every damn time. Beautiful piece right there. But the whole score is fantastic. Wayne, I couldn't have said it better than you. So many different pieces throughout this film that, the music is just top notch. First Contact is always going to be my favorite. But, I'm not a huge fan of this movie, but the music, Jerry Goldsmith, I still feel like knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I can look up the soundtrack to see if it's on it. But apparently, Brent Spiner recorded the entire song of Blue Skies. And which I think there are some notes of that Jerry Goldsmith incorporated into the score. That would be a nice little, cherry on the top. Just to include that.
It is included. It is included. Because the score was released back when the film came out. Had 14 tracks, about 48 minutes of music, which is pretty long for a Star Trek soundtrack. But they did in 2014. They did release a 2-disc complete score for this. Finally, it was Very Saraband that released it. 32 tracks, 9 alternate tracks, and then the 4 source cues, like you were talking about with the Blue Skies. Unfortunately, this is the only Star Trek's film score that is not currently available to purchase. It's been out of print for quite a few years, but you can still find it. You can still find it on Amazon and Entrada and those. It's just not readily available. You have to look for it a little bit.
And a little pricey, I'm sure, too.
Not too bad right now, but if you wait another year or two, it might be.
Probably. All right, well, let's move on and let's talk about some Easter eggs. Wayne, I know you've got some.
You'd be surprised how little I was able to find. There are some. A bit of retroactive continuity. The name of the Romulan ship, Valdor, it was later reused in the name of Romulan senator and admiral in the Star Trek Enterprise. So, even though it was shown backwards, we finally found out where that ship got its name. And for this film, normally the producers would reuse and redress the old sets, like with the other films. They used sets from Deep Space Nine and Voyager. But by the time this movie was being filmed, all of Voyager's sets had been taken down, and they were forced to construct everything from scratch for this film. So we got all new sets. The sick bay, the crew quarters were all brand new sets for this film. The only thing that they reused was the bridge of the Romulan Valdor was a redress, the Enterprise E set. They just shot it very carefully so that you couldn't tell the difference.
Of course.
But on the other hand, many of these sets and costumes that they would create would be used later for Star Trek Enterprise. The Riemann costumes were reused as the Xindi costumes during the 3rd season of that show, and many of the computers and set pieces would be seen throughout the final 2 seasons of that show. The fast food restaurant Del Taco featured a promotional tie-in for this film. They had 4 fun cups decorated with Star Trek characters. They had a contest and Star Trek themed gift certificates. There were action figures by Art Asylum, not too many of them, but a few, trading cards, and even TV Guide got into it and released 4 special lenticular covers promoting the film around the time of its release. But that was about it when it came to promotional stuff of the film.
Nice.
Also, in this, this became the first Star Trek film not to debut in the #1 spot at the box office. This film was beaten by Made in Manhattan.
Oh, geez.
By just $200,000. But the problem is unfortunately, it lost. Star Trek Nemesis lost 75% of its audience the following week because of the release of Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers.
Well, that makes nothing compared to that.
Yeah, but which also means it was the worst revenue drop of any major studio film in box office history.
Ouch.
Well, they got that going for them, which is
Ouch.
nice.
Not a record you really want to make, though.
No, it's not.
No.
One of the things I found very interesting, an Easter egg, I think we kind of mentioned this earlier about B4. Apparently, it is consistent with the episode Inheritance, because it is said Dr. Soon had built 3 prototypes before Lore and Data.
Okay, that's incorrect.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that does come into play a little bit. And apparently... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, how many of these robots did he build? I mean, we got a lot of them.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Apparently, he had quite a penchant for losing them.
Yeah.
Like, he had no idea where...
Yeah, he wasn't very good at that.
Laura was in cold storage, but I guess he just, these other prototypes are bouncing around on some kind of planet somewhere, hopefully in one piece, but a little odd.
So here's something fascinating that I found too. This film references every live-action Star Trek series that had come before and after Star Trek: The Next Generation at this time. Commander Riker orders the defensive maneuver Kirk Epsilon after Captain Kirk from Star Trek. One of the ships waiting for the Enterprise is the USS Archer, named after Captain Archer of the Enterprise.
Oh, yeah.
Admiral Janeway, obviously making her cameo from Star Trek Voyager. Worf, obviously returns from Deep Space Nine. In the deleted scene, he claims he was not cut out for ambassador life. So everything is represented in this movie. Isn't that pretty cool?
Oh, yeah, they managed to get everything in there, didn't they?
They did.
That's pretty
There you
cool.
go.
Yeah. And let's not forget the wine that the crew is drinking there at the end. You know where that was from, Wayne?
That's right. Yeah.
Chateau Picard.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting because then in the Picard season, it seems like they kind of poke fun at Chateau Picard not being that good of a wine.
Right.
It's like,
Apparently
yeah,
it is because it's everywhere.
exactly.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, let's talk about some of our favorite moments, guys. Scott, what about you?
We've already talked about a lot of them. I think Data posing as B4 was a clever move. He had kind of an interesting affect to his voice, that kind of echo effect, kind of underscoring it. At the same time, it's kind of like they fell for that. They didn't spend any time with B4, like couldn't tell the specs or whatever. I think the action was handled pretty well. Like the direction of the action sequences
Absolutely
hold up.
Yeah.
But then again, it's just kind of like, those flaws keep coming back, and it's one of the things that I remember about this movie being interesting and kind of keeping my attention. But then there's those weird nuggets. What about you, Dave?
For me, as much as I love this epic battle that's done extremely well, it's the final moment between Captain Picard and Commander Riker. Just watching that scene made me tear up because knowing the history of these two characters and seeing them standing there possibly for the last time, as Riker, finally gets what he deserves, his own command. I mean, I know it was almost given him a few times in some of the episodes and he passed it up, but that moment between these two characters that we have fallen in love with, you knew at this point this was probably going to be it for them. And just seeing that happen was my favorite moment of this entire film. Wayne, what about you?
Well, I think I've got two moments. I've touched on one, and that is I like the fact that they actually got Troy involved in the actual plot of the story. Her character in Dr. Crusher tended to get shoved into the background a lot, especially in the last film, to make room for the regular, Picard, Data, Riker. But here she's actually given something that makes a difference in defeating the villain, and I like that. It shows that she's just not another face on the bridge. She's not just the counselor. She's a strong, important part of the Enterprise crew. We all knew that. We finally get to see a little bit of it here. And another scene that I really like is right after Picard and Shazan meet, and he gives him the blade with the blood on it. There's a lovely scene between Picard and Dr. Crusher, and they're talking about it. I like this because this kind of revokes that feeling you got during season 7 of The Next Generation, where the two of them would always get together for like breakfast or whatever, and they just have their little chats and things. And this reminded me a lot of that. It's a lovely scene with just the two of them, something we didn't scene bit that we didn't get much of in any of the films. It really makes me feel these two characters have this connection, and of course we do find out later they have a big connection.
Yeah, they do.
I just love that scene. I mean, there are two characters that I've always loved on the show, and seeing them having this intimate scene in this film, made me smile.
Good choices. I like those. Yeah. All right, so this is one of my favorite questions. If you could be anyone in this film, who would it be and why?
So for me, it would probably be Data. For the brief moments where he is able to connect with another brother that wasn't trying to murder him this time. There's moments of, let's assume the rest of the movie didn't happen and this is just an episode. I think he would have had a lot of interesting exploration of early life with Dr. Soong. Not knowing whether or not B4 was the most recent prototype or the first.
Yeah.
Right? Seems like there could have been some history connection there. And also just getting a chance to, maybe make an emotional connection with B4. I got the sense that B4 has an emotion chip, just because of the way he acts, even though his positronic brain wasn't as developed. So with Data having access to the emotion chip and having access to a brother that's not homicidal but has emotions, would have been some nice connection moments, I imagine.
Good pick. Wayne, what about you?
I'm going to have to say Riker. because out of all the characters, I think he's the one that has the most promising and exciting future to come out of this film. He starts the film off with getting married finally to his true love. I mean, we all knew from day one encounter at Farpoint that they were meant for each other, and he finally gets that. He's got some great scenes in this film and some incredible action scenes. He gets to punch some Remans, and then he leaves finally on his with his own command with the Titan. Something that he deserved many years before, and now he's finally getting it. He's going off on his own ship to explore unknown parts of the galaxy. So I want to be him.
That sounds good. Yeah, for me, it's B4, a character who doesn't know much about anything until he's given all of Data's memories. But the most important piece here, he gets to be turned off so he doesn't have to witness the possible destruction of the ship.
But he also ends up in a drawer.
He does, but I'm okay with that because I'm turned off myself. I don't know what's going on. All right, listeners, tell us what your favorite part of this film was. Who was your favorite character? What were your thoughts when you saw this for the first time? Let us know by sending an email at afilmbypodcast@gmail.com or reach us online at afilmbypodcast.com or follow us on all the social media platforms. And if you're looking for more exclusive content and swag, send some Latinum our way through Patreon. See you next time for another episode of Phasers Set to Stun.